Okay, guys, good morning. We're going to go over the information that you just looked up about earthquakes. So we'll go ahead and get started here. Alright, so as I'm reading through this, make sure if you want to add anything, you can go ahead and add things, you can delete things, you can change stuff, because I will be looking at those notes when I get back to give you some credit. So, earthquakes. Those are vibrations in the ground that result from movements along faults or breaks in the Earth's lithosphere. So hopefully you've got something along those lines. There are three different types of faults. So three ways that the two plates coming together are going to move. It's going to be similar to the forces, the compression, tension, and shearing. So a normal fault is going to form when forces are going to pull the rocks of the two plates apart. It's going to occur at a divergent plate boundary, meaning when something's diverging, they're coming apart. And so these plates are at this fault line where the two plates are meeting, the two plates are pulling apart from each other, and so one block of the fault moves down. The strike slip fault, this is where the two blocks or the two plate tectonics are going to slide past each other in opposite directions. And then your reverse fault is the third type of a fault, where the force is going to push two blocks of rock together and one of the rocks ends up moving up. So that would be kind of like the compression forces. So you're going to have two plates pushing together and then one of the plates or rocks goes up. So that's going to be along a convergent boundary. The strike slip fault will be a transform fault boundary where they're just sliding past each other. And like I said, the normal fault is going to be with a divergent boundary. Two things with an earthquake. The focus and the epicenter. The focus is the point underneath the Earth's surface where the earthquake is actually occurring. It's where the earthquake is originating from. The epicenter is basically the same thing, except instead of being underground, it's the point on the Earth's surface. So the focus and the epicenter are going to be right on top of each other, one on top of the other. It's just the focus will be underground and the epicenter is going to be on top, above ground. Okay, the next three are the different types of waves. Seismic waves are waves that are going to come out from the earthquakes. So when the plates move, they're going to release these seismic waves which carry energy, and they're going to travel away from that focus. Depending on how they move and where they move, that will determine if they are a primary wave, a secondary wave, or a surface wave. There are some other sub-categories of waves, but we're just going to talk about these three, the P waves, the S waves, and the surface waves. There's a video on Symbaloo. I don't know if you saw it. It's a little, there's two of them. The first one goes over the focus and the epicenter pretty well. The second one is a little old. If you've seen it, it's you can definitely tell it was made a while ago, and it's a little cheesy. It's actually kind of very cheesy, but it's actually very, very good. They do a really good job of showing you the difference between a primary wave and a secondary wave. He uses a slinky, so if you have a moment, I would take the 5 minutes, I think the video is, and watch that, just so you can kind of see the difference between the primary waves and the secondary waves. The primary waves are going to be the ones that are going to He's got the slinky stretched out, I believe. Those are compression waves, meaning the force is going to push the wave. It's not going to take it and move it back and forth. It's going to literally push that energy. So, and so it's like if you took that, if you stretched a slinky and then you just push that slinky and you would get a little ripple, that would be a primary wave. It's the fastest moving wave. It comes directly out from the focus. They can go through solids and liquids. So they can go through the liquid mantle, they can go through the, water, they can go through any one of those, solids, liquids. Secondary waves are S waves. This is like if you took your slinky and instead of just pushing it to give it a little push and see that wave, it's going to be more of what you might call an actual wave. So it'd be like if you took that slinky, I think you see that one better on the video. He'll take the slinky and he'll move it back and forth, right and left. And so you can see that's a secondary wave. These waves can only travel through solids, though, so they can't actually go through they can't go through the liquid outer core, they can't go through really the magma and the mantle, so they really can only go through the crust of the earth. So they're a little bit slower than your primary waves. And then the very last set of waves is the surface waves. They are only going to be on the top. So they're going to kind of emanate from the epicenter. So they're going to be on top. They do the most damage to the ground, so the structures on the ground, so like your buildings and houses and things like that. So they move much slower than your primary and secondary waves, but they do produce the most damage. So make sure you know the 3 different waves and their differences. If you still aren't understanding after you watch the videos, when I see you again, I've got a slinky, so I can show you kind of what the difference is between those, the first 2, the primary and secondary. The last thing that I really want to talk about is the seismometer. Maybe it's going to go down. I've got kind of a lag here. Okay, it's not going to open it for me. So what a seismometer is, for some reason it's not allowing maybe it is on yours, but it's not showing up on mine. Oh, it is, okay. Mine is a little slow. So what a seismometer is, this is the device that seismologists or geologists are going to use to record motion from the earthquake. And then they're going to give it a number based on those waves that emanate from it and the amount of damage and things, and they measure them, if you've heard of that. So the last part that you've got on your little sheet is figuring out how scientists actually measure the earthquakes and their magnitudes and things like that. So you can do that for some extra credit. And again, I'll check that on Monday to see. So you basically have until Monday to get that done if you want that extra credit. So if you have any questions, I will be here after school for tutoring, so I'll be back after lunch. So you're welcome to come in after school today, or just send me an email. So the next thing that you're going to do is I've got a video on the earthquake foldable that you're gonna make. So make sure that you get that done too, because that you might be able, just like with all the other foldable that we did, you might get to use this on a quiz. So so yeah, again, just if you have questions, just let me know.